Okay, it's been a while since I made a video. And so I'm seeing all the things that are happening in our society. I see where I'm American, of course, and I see where European countries are still trying to cause African countries to plummet. And it's just like when slavery was in America and people assumed slavery would be forever. God had a purpose for slavery. I think it was 260 years or 290 something years, 96 years, something like that, that we were actually, our ancestors were actually enslaved. Now, there are a lot of things, what is it, Jim Crow or something like that, that occurred. And then we had sharecropping and all that was involved. But the actual slavery was not actually 400 years. I know we think it is, but it wasn't. And we've been told that over and over again, but that's not true. But anyway, I digress because that's not my point. My point is this: God has a season for things to occur. And one of the seasons was for the gospel to be spread, and countries that did not worship him, they worship angels that they called gods, because the angels are not the fallen angels. And some of the children, the evil spirits of the children who died in the flood, that were half human and half angel, who walked the earth, they roamed the earth, disturbing people and doing things. So they worship, because we can't see them and they can walk through walls and they're not limited to time and they don't have to eat and all this other stuff. So they can have influences, but we don't see them, but they try to influence us by doing little things or working through people or possessing people. If there's sin in our lives, they're able to possess us through the three different forms of possession, where it's a total takeover, or where there's where they only speak in your ear and you can hear them, or they through like obsessions, where they have you have obsessions and things of that sort. So there are ways that they operate. Now, I'm saying all this to say that as my European cousins, and I'm sure they're yours too, because we're all kin, because human only means race and race only means human, they assumed that they would stay in power. But the gospel had to be spread, and the Jews had to get saved. And once the Jews, the Hebrew, the Israelites, I shouldn't even say Jews, the Israelites, once the Israelites started getting saved by the droves, by the hundreds, every single day, Israelite is getting saved, there was no need for the Gentiles, who are the Europeans, because everybody is not Gentile. Even though I know people tell you that is not true, because if you read the Bible in Genesis 10, it'll tell you who the Gentiles are, because they lived on little isles. Yeah. And the isles were close to to land, and I think maybe that's why they weren't called islands. And isles are where the temperature is kind of cool and not hot, whereas islands, they're tropical. So, so they just assumed that they were given these powers because of who they were and because of their complexion and their nationality, and no, that only played a role because God wanted to use them, the Gentiles, because they had a willingness to get the gospel out. And until people understand that, that's why, and they're still getting the gospel out, and they're still doing a lot of things that a lot of people are not doing. As far as going into countries and helping people. And I'm not mad at them for doing it. But that was their main purpose. And it was to cause our Israelite cousins to be like, oh, wait a minute, we believe in Jesus. Many of them are believing in Jesus now and not just trying to go to God and all of that without Jesus. So it was kind of to make them jealous, like, wait a minute, we're the called ones of God. And this is something we should be doing, because that's what was meant to happen in the first place. Now, it didn't happen through Africa, because Africans, for the most part, except for two countries, Ethiopia and I forgot the other country, were, because the Ethiopian Queen Sheba, not Queen of Sheba, but Queen Sheba, She got saved after, or we could say in her that version of saved, she accepted Judaism, and they accepted it as a country. And so the Ethiopians were known for believing, and I could have got my information wrong, so because I'm not Ethiopian and I don't live over there, so I'm reading other people's stuff. But the Ethiopians got, as a whole, accepted Christianity and that belief system. And there was, like I said, there's another country, and it was a female queen, but I don't remember who she was. And that nation became a Christian nation under her leadership, but I just don't remember who she was. But Queen Sheba, when she went to King Solomon, and she saw all the things he was able to do, because King Solomon used a lot of the evil spirits and demons to help him build the temple of God. So a lot of people don't know that, because the book of Solomon was purged from the Bible. So unless you read that, you won't know. And that's why they were able to cut things and do a lot of things that they did. And we're not able to do it because, a lot of things were cut off, so that we don't need to work in that atmosphere anymore, because everything has changed and we rely solely on the blood of Jesus to help us to be successful. We don't have to try to get demons to build things and all that. And people are still dealing, like magicians, people who do magic tricks and stuff like that. Some of them, and singers, entertainment, and all of that, and the Freemasons, and they're still people into voodoo and witches and warlocks, psychics and mediums. Those kind of people are still dealing with demons. But for the most part, the average person, when I say demons, they're dealing with them one-on-one. Like, they listen to them, they get instructions from them, they take the lives of others so that they can use the blood to get done what they need to get done, or whatever. Blood of animals and blood of humans, and that's human sacrificing and all of that. And that also includes children being snatched from the womb of a woman. I won't say the word, so people won't try to cut this off. But again, so just like we know that things are going to change in the European countries, and the European countries are going to suffer a little bit, not to the extent that they could, because they did honor God. They built cathedrals to him, churches to him, to honor him. They spread the gospel of peace. Even if there were some people who did ungodly things, the gospel was still preached. And that was God's main focus, was so that the gospel would be preached. And they're still the main group of people that are spreading the gospel, the translation of the Bible in multiple tongues. That was Europeans, so that's where they get the grace from God, because of the spreading of the gospel. But many of them were tyrants when in their dealings with other countries, what they call third world countries, which these countries were not third world, because they relied on these countries for diamonds, gold, people, and minerals and resources, and even foods. So because they took over the trade in the 1600s from the Africans, because the Africans were doing trade with Mexico, China, and certain European countries up until the 1600s. And that's when the Spaniards, what are they called? I don't want to say Polynesian, because it wasn't them. The other group that's Spanish, but I can't think of their name. It starts with a P. I'll probably think of it before I'm done talking. But they, I wish I could think of the name of them. But they took over that from the Africans. But remember, the Africans were not serving God. And so God was saying, hey, if you're not going to serve me, let your God be the one to protect you when I send these people to come against you. Where's your God now? And so a lot of times people don't understand that God is not a mean God, but you cannot serve a demon and call that demon God and claim he's, brought down UFOs and all the other crap that people say. And you call these demons God because they are a created being, but you're worshiping them as if they're the creator, and you're doing all these herbs and rituals and all this to them, even as of up to today. Up to when I say today, as of this moment, there are still people who are doing that, worshiping demons. But you're saying, hey, wait a minute. Why aren't we getting what they're getting? Because they're serving the real God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And a lot of people are mad about that. But okay, so they have that opportunity. That's the grace and mercy they have, even for the wicked things that they've done. But now, like I said, that season of their reigning over all these countries is ending. Just like slavery had to end. There was a season for it. There was a purpose for it. And now it's over. So that season of colonialism and neo-colonialism is over. That season is up because there's no purpose for it anymore. God has a purpose for everything. Just like when he enslaved the Hebrew Israelite Jews and the Africans in Egypt and other parts of Africa where they were enslaved, but mainly Egypt. They were enslaved. So the Jews were enslaved by Africans. Okay, we forget about that though, because we whitewash African history by Europeanizing the Africans on television and everything else. But it was Africans who enslaved the Jews, the Hebrews. So, and they enslaved them for 400 years, even though we were not enslaved for 400 years. But I digress from that because you have to actually do some research to find out that Africans were not enslaved for 400 years. So, again, Europe is going to fall a little bit though because of the evil they have done, and God has to allow them to pay the price for the evil they did, even though some things he allowed because, again, people were worshiping false gods and not him. And he said, hey, again, you're worshiping these gods, let them save you. Let them save you. Pray to them now. And they saw many people started getting saved because they saw, wait a minute, I've been praying to this God. My mom is still sick. I've been praying, and there's floods and there's fires and there's this and there's that, and there's no change. Because you can't have a created being trying to do what only a creator can do. So anyway, I wanted to say that, and I know I said a lot, and I hope that you got my point in saying all that. All right, love you. Talk to you later.